Hey guys, do this on your next release and it will 10x, 100x, it will multiply the number of people that are listening to your music. It's pretty simple actually. And I've tried this, I've done this. I've actually done this multiple times, actually not just with music, but I've also done it with books. I've done it with YouTube videos. I've done this with all kinds of content. It works. People don't want to believe it. People want to avoid this, but this simple tactic, honestly, if you will employ this, it's so simple, but people just don't want to believe it. So if you'll try this on your next one, I bet you will see at least 10 times more people listening, showing up, listening to your music on your next release. So here's what you do. Okay. And I'm going to give you the answer by telling you how people get this wrong, right? How artists get this wrong. Artists, when they have a release coming up, start this sort of pre-release promotion, right? They drop like some social media, like some hints, maybe a little clip, maybe some imagery, album cover art, things like that. Or like, hey guys, everybody, like my song's blowing up on December 1st, whatever, check it out. It'll be on, Spotify, blah, 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 right? Every artist, at least the ones that are even awake, are doing something like that, right? So think about what happens, right? When you're sending out social media signals, part of who's on board with that is like family and friends and like fans, people that don't know you. So let's almost call it like the people that know you, the people that don't know you. People that know you are already like bored and done with what you're posting about, right? Which, side note, pro tip for you, if you're struggling with feeling like, man, the people in my life just don't care about what I'm working on, like, it's okay. They probably don't. They're distracted because you're focused on your music. They're not focused on your music. So you're constantly, like, go back at your social media feeds. Chances are all you're doing is inundating them with your art. And your family and friends are probably like, okay, another single, great, cool. Scroll, scroll, scroll. They're looking for something different and new, and they already know what to expect from you. So your family and friends, in a way, are already like gone, right? And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I think, it is what it is. Don't get caught up like emotionally and like, no one supports me, my friends and family don't care. Who cares? Like, you're looking for fans. You're looking for followers. And you can't always turn your family and friends into fans and followers. It's a tricky thing, right? So don't worry about them. You're trying to build your fan base, okay? These are the people who don't necessarily know you, and they are interested in being constantly updated. They want to know what's going on with your music and your releases or whatever, right? But what do we do as indie artists? We just hit them over and over. This song, my music's coming out, drop it on this date, drop it like it's hot, listen here, stream here. Like, we constantly do this. And even our fans start to get annoyed because it's like the same thing. All you're trying to do is sell me your music. And by sell, I mean, tell me about you, tell me about you, tell me about you. But it's rarely interesting. So there's a lot we can do on this side. But remember I started, your family and friends have kind of given up because after your first few releases, your first few songs out there, now granted, if it's your very first, you might still have some momentum you can gather. But what I'm about to tell you will even work on your first release. So here's what you do. You want a 10x, you want a 100x, the listeners, the people showing up to support you on your next release, whether that's your first or your 10th or your 100th. Here's what you do. Step off social media. Look at your phone and look at your email and look at your in-person conversations with people you know. So make a list or a mental list, or if you have a database or whatever, everybody you know. Now, quick other side note. I'm not even going to touch the topic of privacy laws. I'm not going to advise you on whether this violates or doesn't violate any privacy law. You got to do you in that regard. If you need legal advice, just go get it. If there's a privacy law issue in this, of course, when I'm hired to do that, I can respond to that. But this is not what this video is about. I'm talking about a technique, not whether the way that you execute that technique will trigger some sort of privacy issue. You may already know the answer, but I'm pointing that out. So little side note to hold on to. So here's the technique. You maybe come up with like 5 templates. And again, I've done this successfully over and over and over, and it works. So if you're doubting me, my guess is you've never done it and you're a cynic, but I've done it and I've seen success after success after success. Side note, I love to give side notes. I've had written 3 books, one published with a traditional publisher, 2 self-published. All 3 have been Amazon #1 bestsellers, but the 2 that I self-published, I made them Amazon #1 bestsellers by my techniques. And this is one of the techniques I've used. And I've done, like I said, for books, for music, for YouTube videos. This is what you do, okay? So take notes. Make a short paragraph to pick your mom, pick your brother, pick your sister, pick the friend you went to college with. And you're writing to that person. Hey, Joe, I want to let you know, and this is going to be hard because it's really specific to your personality, your language, your vibe of talking, how you interact with your friends. But if I'm thinking of like a friend, Mark, I went to college with, and I'd be like, hey, Mark, man, it's been a long time. I hope you're doing well. Hey, I've been working so hard on my music that I totally forgot, like I haven't really kept you updated, and I don't want to bug you, but I'm releasing a new single that I've been working on, and I would love for you to hear it, and whatever support you feel like you can give. So it's releasing on December 1st at 8 a.m. Spotify, Apple Music, whatever your platform is, or your DSP is, just all that I ask is that you show up. Now that may be a little long-winded, but I'm saying for context for you. So I have that for Mark, my iconic person that I'm sending this to, an old college buddy. Then I might have a cousin that I haven't, hey, cuz, it's been a while, hope you're doing well, blah, blah, blah. Been working on my music. I would love to get your support, releasing December 1st. Create a few of those. Now, I've done this where I've done, like, literally written 100 individual emails or individual texts. Granted, every time I could cut and paste some of the content, but my point is you kind of create a template of what you want to say to this person that is your family or friend or your colleague. You could do this with work buddies. You could do this with your work, your office, whatever. So you create sort of a template of you're being very personal. This isn't like a pitch. This isn't like you're selling them anything. This is like a personal, like, hey, it's been a while. I'm nervous. I'm releasing something. I'd love to get your support. So by the way, you haven't sent it yet. You're working on the language. So you have the language, and maybe a spreadsheet or Google Sheet is good. The name, the email address, or the phone number, and then what you're going to cut and paste, because you don't want to forget who you sent this to, right? So you come up with this list, and then you target them in groups. So let's say I sent out 5 texts, like one after the other, or 10 emails, one after the other. They're very individualized. They're not group ones. You definitely don't do like a group mail merge kind of situation. This is one-offs. And this is a lot of work, but I'm telling you, I've done where I've sent over a course of 2 weeks, 700 mixtures of emails, text messages, DMs to people that I know. And just being really honest, like, hey, I'm launching this new thing. I would love if you could show up. I need the support or whatever. The reason why this is so critical and this is so overlooked, because it requires work, right? You have to do gather all the numbers and email addresses. Number 2, you gotta actually be a little bit vulnerable and say, hey, I'm nervous. I'm releasing my first song. I hope people like it. I would love to get your support. That's vulnerable, right? But I think if you're vulnerable with these people, they will show up. And guess what? If you have 100 people or 200 people or 300 family, friends, colleagues, schoolmates, whatever, that can show up when you start streaming, that will kick off a piece of the algorithm. So it does a handful of things. Number 1, it will give you a little bit of that juice, right? You're like, yes, okay, it's not 0, it's not 2 people, right? So there's that. It'll also kick into the algorithm. Like when you look at the different algorithms of the different platforms, one of the things every platform's algorithm likes to look at is sort of the speed at which people come in and watch or listen or download or stream and or comment on, and the aggregation of like a moving body, because it tells the algorithm people are responding, let's show this to more people. So if you can get like 100 over 60 days, that's much, much worse than getting 50 in 2 days. Because it's sort of that volume explosion of, okay, people are listening, let's show it, the algorithm says, let's show it to more people. And so when if it's algorithmic in terms of who has access to it, now this is trickier like on Spotify or Apple Music because of like, well, how's the algorithm going to help put me in front? You might get on an editorial playlist, you might get picked up by a new release or something, some sort of like bump in, okay, the DSP is recognizing that this song has a little bit of movement. Let's see what happens when we add a little bit more eyeballs or ears to it. So not to be long-winded, that's it. You just have to target people with a very personal, relational, not manipulative, not like long-winded. This shouldn't be more than like 2-3 sentences maximum. And it shouldn't be exactly cut and paste for every person. So that's the work part. You need to tailor at least the intro to that specific person you're sending it to. If you do this on your next release, first of all, I would love to hear that you did. And if you do, say, hey, Brock, absolutely, 10x, what I expected. Or, hey, Brock, didn't work. Let's talk. Like, why? Let me see one of your examples of what you sent. And maybe it's the way you worded it. Maybe it's who you sent it to. Maybe it's the people you know. Maybe you got a small family. Who knows? But if you will try this, you're adding to your toolkit. And ultimately, that's what I'm trying to help you do, is add to your toolkit of skills that you could invoke that will help your music get in front of more people. So go after that today. If this was helpful, like and subscribe, share this thing, and comment, because I would love to get a conversation going on this topic of the best way to approach family and friends and to kind of 10x that release. So let's go after it today.